Hello and welcome to the Smart Women in Business vlog and podcast. Today I'm talking to Emma McMillan. Emma is an SEO copywriter and copy coach, helping established businesses, teams and agencies reduce overwhelm, develop clarity around their messaging and show up consistently. Emma helps her clients develop great quality content to connect confidently with their audience. She especially loves working with established businesses who are growing and scaling or changing direction and need to align their messaging. Emma specialises in SEO website copywriting, content marketing, small business copywriting, and one-to-one copy coaching. Welcome, Emma. Yay!
Thanks for having me, Jane.
No worries. So, welcome. I'm very happy to have you here, all the way from sunny Melbourne. It is a gorgeous day here, so I'm assuming it's a gorgeous day there. Please tell me about your business journey and how you got to where you are right now.
Sure. Well, I've got an interesting sort of pathway, but I suppose all copywriters in their own way have had a different sort of journey.
Yes, it's really linear.
Just one training ground. So I actually have a background in education. So I spent about 12 years as a secondary school teacher before I became a copywriter. But before I became a teacher, I studied creative arts at uni and majored in creative writing. So there was always something there. I was wanted to write, but it didn't really seem like a very viable career choice at the time. Didn't really know what to do aside from, try and write a book, and that didn't seem particularly lucrative. So decided to then go and study dance and business management with the thought that I might one day open my own dance studio. Then I decided that the idea of, working evenings and weekends probably wasn't the right choice for me. So I went back and studied dip ed and became a teacher. And I taught drama and dance and English in a range of different schools across Melbourne over, about 12 years.
Wow.
But I guess whilst I love the face-to-face teaching, over time it became very heavily administrative, and I just kind of felt like I was really burning out. I worked in performing arts, so there was lots of rehearsals on the weekends and after hours and lots of piles of English marking. And at that time, I was thinking about having a family, and I just thought, I feel like this career is not actually going to support the kind of lifestyle that I'm hoping to have. In some ways, it felt counterintuitive because I thought, well, I'll lose the school holidays.
School holidays.
And my mum was a teacher, and she said, but the school holidays, But I also thought, I just felt that my job at that time was pulling me so far away from, my life, especially the 6 months of the year mounting a school production. I just thought, I just don't have the energy. I don't think so. Was looking for an out. Got pregnant, so that was sort of my immediate out. But I took a year's leave.
Yes.
And thought I would spend my maternity leave looking for the next thing. And at that time, it was just an idea that I might study something else, or that I might, get another job. But nothing that I looked for or looked at seemed like the right sort of fit. And eventually I sort of thought, I think I'm actually just going to have to bite the bullet and start doing something myself. And I kind of came across copywriting, sort of just kept popping up. As soon as you're looking for something, suddenly you start to see little hints everywhere. And I thought, I feel like this is probably the easiest sidestep I can make without having to go back and do lots of rigorous study and things like that. So while I was on maternity leave, had a 4-month-old baby, and I was doing my little night course at the Australian Writers Centre to do a bit of upskilling, and just making sure that I kind of had what it took to sort of start out and start calling myself a copywriter. So gradually over that year, sort of, just started to put the word out, just feelers to friends and family, got a website built, but then I sort of just didn't have enough going on yet to make it viable to not return to teach. So I went back part-time 2 days a week when my son was a year old, but I kind of started to continue to grow it on the side to the point where sort of 3 terms in to that first year back, I went into my principal's office and said, I'm not doing it anymore. It's not the right fit. I left my, left my job where I had a permanent contract, and I just knew it wasn't right for me anymore. and I felt like I didn't want an out because I really wanted to make the business work. She said to me afterwards, "Why didn't you just ask me for a year's leave? I would have given it to you." And firstly I went, "Oh my gosh, maybe I should have." And then I thought, no, I just wanted to know I didn't have a backup plan.
It forces you to just go, right, this is not a hobby anymore.
Absolutely. And so over the past few years, it sort of built up from, a couple of days worth of work a week to 3 days a week, to now 4 days a week. And then my son goes to primary school next year. So it will become my full-time thing.
This is my first year of full-time.
How's it been?
It's been homeschooling. 11 years I've got a 10-year-old, so yeah, in 10 years of having kids, yeah, this is my first year. It's been great. So you're now here looking ahead to going full-time. Do you work reduced hours? Because that's a big question, I think, for a lot of people starting out, going, can I start a business and will people expect me to show up for business hours?
That's an interesting question, and one that I really have grappled with over the years. So I actually don't advertise myself as being part-time even, and I never really have. I've kind of just, for all intents and purposes, been working in the business all the time. And certainly in the early days, there was many a late night and there was many an early morning, and you're just kind of scrambling because you want to get experience. You need to build, your business. You need that to sort of put that investment of time in. And I was prepared to do that.
You have at your disposal when you're starting out, because if you're replacing a full-time income, but not on that secure, constant salary. You've got to, make hay while the sun shines. And I've done 5 a.m. to 11 p.m.
And I think in the beginning it's okay too, because you're so excited that
it's all fun
as much. And then I got to about sort of the 3rd year in, and I started thinking, this is crazy. Like, I'm working ridiculous hours, and I built up quite a good client base by that point, but the hours were just ridiculous because I would sort of just say, "Oh, not a problem, I can get that back to you tomorrow," and then tell another client, "Yep, tomorrow, and suddenly I'd have these 10 things that I said I'm going to get back,
which are each 2 hours each, and you're like, "Oh, I'm going to have a nervous breakdown."
And as my husband would say, I'm really not great at estimating the amount of time things take. He's referring, I think, to my getting ready routine and things like that, but it applies to my writing as well, So I'm starting to learn to build in more of that buffer time. That's
important when quoting, especially if you're doing time jobs as well.
Absolutely, it is. So technically I've had, 3 full days when my son's been in childcare this year, which, are my days where it's just head down, bum up, then a day where he spends with his, grandparents, and then a day that we hang out together. And I try not to do things on that day. I might pop into my email occasionally, but I try and be as present as I can, because there's just always that juggle, isn't it, of you wanting to grow business, and I actually love my business and I love my work, but I don't want to miss these times with my son, especially when he's off to primary school next year. So it's been a constant juggle, and just things just have to get tweaked and sort of shifted along the way. And I think it's important to just keep stopping every now and again and just assessing, is this really working still? Or if it's not, what do I need to start saying no to, so that I can say yes to myself or yes to my family?
Exactly. It's everything you say yes to, you're saying no to something else. And that's really important, I think, as small business owners. I love working. It's like totally my happy place. I really enjoy it. I put everything into it. I'm so focused. But then, especially when we're in homeschool and I've got to go to school pickup cutoff time, I'm working first thing in the morning all the way through to dinner time. Didn't see my kids because I'm just like, I've got to, do what I can. No exercise, and we end up neglecting ourselves in that. And building a business, you are the most valuable asset in that business. So we need to make sure that we protect ourselves in that as well. And I think that's something that I learned early on too, was that I can't work 16-hour days and then expect to function as a mother and a friend and a daughter and a sister and all of those other things that are expected of us. And then they throw book week in there for good measure. So which is like I'm always hating on book week. But anyway. So obviously your business has gone through quite an evolution. And so what were the signs in terms of your business growth that it was time to change the way you do business? Because when we start out, we just say yes to everything and we charge, minimal normally. And then we sort of grow and evolve. So what was it in your business for you that you went, oh, okay, right now it's time to do this and grow my business? Those little points.
Yeah, well, I think it's very easy in the beginning to sort of just have your eyes on what everybody else is doing around you, and feel like, well, I don't know what I'm doing. So therefore, if I kind of follow the path that others have sort of taken, like, surely that will take me somewhere. And to a point, it absolutely does. And then I think I just started to get this feeling of like, I'm saying yes to these sorts of projects because this is the sorts of projects that other, copywriting colleagues take on, but they're not actually feeling like really aligned for me anymore. And so it was just a real opportunity for me to start thinking about what is it that I actually really love to do. And last year I invested in business coaching for the first time, and I worked with Amy from Craft Coaching and Development, who's just a beautiful human and very insightful. And what we did is we just kind of got a lot of clarity around, what is it that I actually do that's different to other copywriters in my space. And one of the things that sort of we landed on was that I'd really missed actually working with a team of people. I led lots of teams in performing arts in schools, and I kind of like that collaboration, that collegiality, which often you don't get so much as a small business owner. So for me, working in with like marketing and comms teams is a really good way for me to actually have a team of people that I'm working with, but I'm still, not in their office. I'm in my own office, which today is my home office. But it's that kind of nice balance for me of that soloist element and that being part of something sort of bigger. And what I like about that too is it's actually often grown into an opportunity where it might start with, we need to revamp the website, and then it will become all of this other marketing collateral and bigger projects, and I get to have input on, strategy and so on. So it's sort of those bigger media, more long-term projects that I really love to do. And I've got a few retainer clients, and I know not everyone loves retainer work, but for me, it suits me because I like to build those relationships and kind of just really nurture them and work together for a longer period of time. So, yeah.
That's what I found with us little copywriters is we're great one-on-one, but we don't play well with others in big crowds often. Like, were you at CopyCon?
I was at CopyCon, yeah.
Yeah, so CopyCon is a blur. So all of us in that one room together, totally geeking out about copy, but being unashamedly geeky. That was so good, because that's what we are. We're sort of all introverts at heart, but because we work in the marketing space, people expect us to be extroverts. Whereas
absolutely,
we're really not. And it's really funny. It's like a common thing I see amongst copywriters is, I can say this because I am one myself, but we're total geeks on the inside, and going into social situations scares us. But then working in teams makes us really happy. And it's just one of those weird sort of quirks that I see again amongst all the copywriters that I know, that we're, Kate too, ambiverts. We're ambiverts. We're introverted extroverts. And absolutely. I love that. And what is a real privilege about being a copywriter or marketing consultant or any sort of business consultant is you get to go into a business and work with them in a team and work on strategy, which is just really great fun. But then you get to do that on multiple teams and see multiple businesses change. And I think that's the real gift of being a consultant, is you get to be part of many teams without going into an office every day. And it's such fun.
Yeah. And you get to, as you say, work with more than one client. I mean, I just feel like I could never take a real job anymore.
A real job. No, me either.
I wouldn't choose just one client, or one business to work with. I just love that variety. It's really what kind of keeps me really excited about things. So, yeah, for sure. And the other thing too that change for me was that I realised that whilst I had often worked with newer businesses, like soloists who were kind of starting, from scratch, and I'd worked on them with a lot of their website copy and so on, what I found was that a lot of them really were super keen to be able to kind of take ownership over their website copy in a way. They really wanted to kind of do it themselves, but they didn't necessarily have the confidence to do it themselves, which is kind of why they came to me. But they had real problems, or real challenges, I should say, handing it over. And I completely understand that, because I don't know if I would feel comfortable to do that with somebody else either. And so that's sort of how my copy coaching has evolved over the past 6 months. And it's come from, wanting to actually, I guess, use my background in teaching and educating and helping to kind of skill someone up so that they can kind of go through the process themselves, but with someone sort of overseeing and being there as sort of accountability buddy, I suppose, too. So that's sort of a way that I'm now working with newer business owners, whereas my copywriting is focusing more working with established businesses and often larger teams. So it's diverged into these sort of two, and it's feeling really nice at the moment. So yeah,
it's a good place to be. It's like empowering your clients to do what they need to do, because people get scared of marketing and the cost, and that they're going to get confused or overwhelmed. And then if you take people on the journey, show them how it's done, you're still there as backup, but then they can infuse their own personality into their copywriting without having to employ a copywriter directly, which is an amazing thing to be able to do for clients. I do the same thing with website stuff. Like I'll build it, and then I'll show you how to make it work. And then people are like, oh, I'm doing this myself. It's like, I've got the training wheels off, but we're still there as their cheerleading squad, and it's really beautiful to see clients do that. I send them little emails and go, see if they change this to your website, congratulations. And they're like, oh, you noticed, I'm so proud of myself, and it's like a really proud moment for us,
because it's giving people the skills and, as you say, empowering them to be able to then kind of run with it. I don't want somebody to just hand over something to me and then I kind of go into the background and do it and then kind of hand it back, and there's no understanding of sort of how it came together, or even how they would then go to write any of their future copy, So if I can kind of coach someone through writing their own website, for instance, or writing, how to structure a blog and things, then it then gives them the skills to be able to take that into all their sort of marketing and all the writing that they need to do. Because as we know, there's so much writing involved in running a business, no matter what your business is.
Every email, every social media post, everything is about structuring copy in a way, even whether you realize it's copy or not, that elicits action or a feeling or an emotion, and you need to be careful with that, and the way you treat your customers or address them. And anyway, we could talk about copywriting all day, but we won't. So you obviously mentioned you have a son. How do you manage this crazy life that we have as entrepreneurs?
Well, it's interesting too, because during COVID, my husband, who used to work in, I guess, more of the corporate space, started his own business as well.
Are you sharing an office?
We're not sharing. Well, we did for a lot of this year. We shared.
Yeah, we've been sharing an office.
And that was so much fun.
Yes.
He went for the kitchen table. And I just stayed in here and shut my door and hoped for the best. But yeah, so in some ways, the fact that both of us now work for ourselves, and he's actually in a much bigger team than I am, but it's sort of given us more flexibility in some ways, but it's also just obviously been, pretty intense, because he's in the early stages of a very fast growing business. And I know what that requires in terms of, the setup stage and how much, time and all that sort of thing. So that's sort of had its own challenges, but then of course he can be, really available and present when the family needs it. So it's sort of, been really challenging in some ways, but also really great in other ways. And I'm really lucky that we've got, the support of my parents who live close by, And, you know, we're in a fantastic childcare centre that my son loves, and, you know, those sort of things were already in place from sort of, you know, a few years ago. So, it's kind of been that it's sort of helped me, I guess, build out a routine. And yeah, I'm just curious to see what will happen next year when he goes to school, because I know there will be some big changes. I know I'm going to sort of get an extra day in terms of, you know, now I'll be able to technically work for 5 days, but obviously the days are significantly shorter days. And so it's just going to mean I have to sort of sit down and look at my business again and think, how do I now want to structure it? What does each day look like? And yeah, it's kind of exciting because it's an opportunity to map it out, you know, in a new way. But I'm sure there's going to be some teething issues, and obviously school holidays too.
School holidays are the killer for me.
So yeah, we'll see. Ask me in 12 months.
I mean, it's not such a great, I didn't find it such a great transition from, because I did the exact same sort of structure as you, like a couple of days in childcare, 1 day with my grandma, his grandma, and then 1 day together. And then that jump to school holidays wasn't too bad because, you know, they're coming. It's not like when we suddenly jumped to homeschool and the world fell apart and suddenly we had no time. You can at least see them coming. So yeah, good luck. It's fun though. Like, I know that I've got a month left of the year and that's it now, probably till the end of Jan, because school holidays. And I live by the beach, so I'm not going to not be doing school holidays with my kids. Although they'll probably be like, "Mum, can we play Minecraft?" Because that's where they're at now. Because after lockdown, I was like, "Yeah, you can download Minecraft," and I'll never see them again. So,
but you're right. You've got to embrace, you know, whatever is thrown at you, and I want to be able to go, yeah, I'm going to plan for it so that I can just be a little bit more flexible during holiday time, and I want to enjoy that. I don't want to be looking in my emails, and you know, it's about working.
I have been known to sit at the beach answering emails, but then I'm like, what's the point in being self-employed if I can't take some time in the school holidays? And you get used to, I think boundaries are one of the things that we put into place later in our businesses. Like you were saying earlier in your business, you were like working all the time and working really long days, whereas now, unless it's super duper urgent, I just won't. I won't work weekends, and I won't work 5 o'clock in the morning to 11 o'clock at night anymore. That, and I've got old, but you know.
Yeah. Oh, tell me about it. It's getting harder and harder each day, but but also, like, I find that when I do that, like, I'm really trying to take the full weekends lately, especially after this year and what a doozy it's been. And I'm actually finding that Monday kicks in and I am fresher and I'm ready and I'm raring. If I try and dip in and out of stuff on the weekend, like, I just don't let my brain rest, and I just don't let myself actually just surrender to just
nothingness.
Yeah. So, you know, we all know that you have to actually give yourself that downtime, give yourself that rest time. For me, exercise is completely not negotiable. It's, you know, 5 times a week at least, because for me, I need to do that to keep my energy levels going. I need to do that just so that I feel like I'm not giving everything that I've got, you know, to my work. And it kind of helps me with that balance, and it's always been really important to me, more sort of now than ever. So yeah, it's about carving out that time, and about, you know, letting yourself rest, letting yourself recover, letting yourself, you know, focus on everything that's important, not just kind of putting all of your energy into this one. Yeah,
because otherwise it becomes a beast. And if clients don't know your boundaries, they can become beasts also. I learned that in my early days very fast, with a client that used to call me at 8 o'clock on a Sunday morning and go, I need something by 8 o'clock tomorrow morning. And I go, you know what, this isn't going to work out. Firing clients is fine, by the way, people. So
absolutely.
It's an important thing to learn. So firing clients, I've only fired a couple, but it's powerful.
Yeah, I've never regretted it.
No, It's never something you go, damn, I wish I was still working with that person. So what does a great day in the office look like for you? So where's your fun space?
Well, I guess my day usually starts with a workout of some kind. I'm really into my strength training at the moment, so going lifting or a Pilates or yoga session, something like that. If I can get that done in the morning, that's always really nice. But then I just want to kind of knuckle down, and before lunchtime, if I can get the bulk of my writing done, like that's kind of what I aim to do, because by about 3 o'clock in the afternoon, the words are not flowing like they were first thing in the day.
Yeah, I'm a before lunch writer. My day escalates with the hardness of the job. Yeah.
So that's kind of got to happen wherever possible. And then the rest of the time, yeah, you know what it's like. There's your marketing activities, there's follow-ups with clients, there's all that sort of jazz. And I mean, yeah, I'm trying to overload myself less with client work and actually allow myself more of the space to work on the business. Because as you know, working in the business, you know, you feel very productive, but actually what I realized at the end of last year was that I was just kind of on this hamster wheel. I didn't know where my business was going. I knew I had a lot of work on, and that was great, but I actually just didn't know how I was going to move forward. And so that's kind of where I really had to stop and think, yeah, if I want to, you know, to move this forward. And that's sort of where I came to the two divergent paths and two sort of parts to my business and so on, because I thought I've just spent so much time doing the writing that I've forgotten to think about what I actually want to be doing and where I actually want this to go and who my clients, you know, who my ideal clients really are and all that sort of thing. So yeah, again, it feels counterintuitive to step back, but that's where the thinking comes, and that's where the strategy comes, and that's where, you know, these big picture things happen when you take that time. And I've got a week off next week. We're heading to the beach on Wednesday to escape Melbourne. And I just can't wait to just walk on the beach and let my mind wander, because I know I'll have these great ideas that just don't come to me when I'm frantically
typing. That's what we do. We type a lot. How many keyboards have you worn out? My letters always disappear on mine. It's bizarre. So I think that you make a really good point about having that downtime and allowing yourself to work on your business. I've got a session tomorrow, a 90-minute session dedicated with a coach to go, right, what are the, a 2-hour session on the next 90 days. And I try and do that myself, but I find it's really much better when it's facilitated by someone, because otherwise you go, oh yeah, that looks nice and easy. And then they push you and go, no, that's not actually a goal. That's you just keep on doing what you're doing now. You need to be able to look at your business from that bird's eye view and go, okay, this is where I am now. And I've always, you know, this has been my goal. How am I going to get there? What does that look like? And really go down to the micro level on that. How many clients is that? Can I do that in the hours I've got per week, per month, per quarter, per year? And that's really fun and a really important element of being in business as well, because you don't know where you're going if you don't know where your destination is.
Exactly. I've got actually a coaching session next week with a good friend of mine who's also a financial coach, to kind of talk more about that too, and sort of say, well, now that I've kind of got the business structure kind of in place, now I want to sort of talk to you and work out, yeah, how does it all sort of fit together, and looking at future goals and, you know, how my hours might change and things like that, and how, yeah, just shuffling things around, moving the pieces to get them fitting in a way that feels good, but knowing that it's something that you have to revisit.
Because I think when we start out, we think we should work with a certain type of client, or that's what, as you said earlier, we look at people in our industry and go, oh, look, I should be doing that. And you go, hang on, that doesn't work for me. That doesn't work for my business. And it doesn't feel aligned with what you want to do. And then you go, oh, okay, maybe I should be going out and working out my own path and how that looks. And that's pretty scary when you're doing it alone in your business. And that's, you know, without someone to bounce ideas off who understands your business as well as you do, it can be daunting.
Yeah, and it's really confronting also to kind of go, like, to really look inwards and kind of think, yeah, what do I really want? Like, what have I really enjoyed doing? What have I really hated doing? You know, what sort of clients will I say no to? And then the next scary part is when those inquiries land in your inbox, being able to say, no, thank you, but here's someone else I recommend.
Yeah.
In the beginning, sometimes once you've made that decision, you feel like an idiot saying no to work. You're like, what? Why would I say no to this?
Why would I do that? Because we're so conditioned. Take all the work. Take all the work. And
Yes.
Yeah. And then you go, why am I doing this? I hate this. Why? What's the point? I may as well work for someone else. But yeah, it's really, really intimidating to do that for the first time.
Yeah.
I'm getting quite good at it lately. And I've got like, go and see this person, go and see that person. I'm not a specialist in that, you know, and it's that specialisation as well.
Yeah, exactly. So I've built up my little list of, you know, people I refer on to and all that sort of stuff. And it's great because then you just feel like I'm still providing value. I'm still saying, you know, here's someone I recommend, but I'm just not that person for you.
Yeah.
So.
I'm not the copywriter of your dreams. I can't do it for you. Sorry. So what tools, because time management is crucial, do you use in your business to help you be productive?
Well, I'm a big fan of the Trello board. I've heard you talk about Asana, and I'm not a fan of Asana. And you use something else, don't you?
I use Airtable.
Yeah, I'm not into that either. But Trello is kind of nice and straightforward for me. It's all my boards and things. But I've also recently moved from there into Toggle Plan, and that's been really good because I had a bit of a stint in agency land last year, and I kind of looked at how they did their scheduling, and that was sort of how they mapped it out. It's almost like sort of Gantt charty looking, and you basically just drop your projects on different days and so on, and you can block them for a number of hours. So you can kind of see visually where you've got available space and where you're sort of fully booked like a month in advance, 3 months in advance, and so on. So that really helped me because I'm a very visual person, and just have it written all in a list and dates, I kind of just couldn't quite picture what that looks like.
Is this through the Toggle Time Tracker app?
It's one of their others. So they now integrate, if you've got the paid version, which I don't, but I use the tracker to track my time and the plan, just to kind of pop it all out visually so I can see. And I think that's going to be good next year once I plug in, you know, the school holidays and so on, so I can actually see when I get contacted by a client, do I actually have availability, or is that time, you know, super crazy busy already and I just have to say no? So it's helping me to understand how much time I actually have in a day. And the other thing is I also, on that sort of time tracking and planning it all out, recently sort of heard a number of people talk about the fact that we've only really got about 4 to 5 really productive working hours in a day. And I'd always been operating on the fact that, you know, I reckon I've got 8. I reckon I've got 8 every day that I can use. It's not the case. And so I'm really trying to build that into when I think about how much I schedule on each day. And so, you know, ordinarily what I might have crammed into 2 or 3 days really probably needs to be spread out over the week. So again, that's the problem with that. What else do I love? I love Later for my Instagram and Facebook scheduling.
Yeah.
Good. Again, I'm visual, so just to be able to see it. And I don't do any of the design of my feed. I've got a lovely VA who does that for me, but I just write all the copy because I figure that's a bit I love.
May as well.
I just, but I sort of love having that hand visually to be able to just kind of pull it all together. So that's nice. And other than that, you know, just my straightforward, you know, Google Suite.
Just live in Google Suite.
What I really need to up-level my workday is a second screen. Because
I've got 2 30-inch screens.
I feel like I'm really missing out there.
That has changed my productivity like you wouldn't believe. It was one of the big things. It sounds so simple, makes such a difference, because that dual screen thing, especially because I'm a designer as well. Like, or when I'm building a site, I've got the copy there, I've got the site there, and I can have a look at how that copy is going to fit, where I need an image. It's great. Do it. Buy yourself one for Christmas.
I feel like it has to be the next thing, definitely. But I sort of did a bit of a silly thing, and I bought this beautiful desk that I love, and I didn't want it to take up the whole room, but it's quite shallow.
Yeah.
So
You can wall mount them if it's up against a wall.
Oh, that's
my architect husband, who's currently designing my she shed, I'm moving out. It's going to be great. Because my desk here is quite, it's not very deep. But he said, "Oh, do you want me to wall mount it?" No, I'm moving in a minute.
Yeah.
It's going to be crazy. That's my next big thing in my business. It's going to be fantastic because I can be up there and the kids, like, it's about 30 meters away from our house. The view's better, and the kids can be down here in the holidays because they're bigger now, and I can be alone.
That's perfect.
Oof, it's going to be heaven. So do that. Big screen. It's great. So, all right. So one of the things that affects every single entrepreneur I've ever met, but I heard the stat was 70% last week. I think the other 30% might not be admitting it, or the Donald Trump, not sure. Imposter syndrome. So what are your methods to overcome this, and how do you respond to the bad days in business? Because we all have them, despite what our Instagram says.
Oh yes, don't believe anyone's Instagram feed. Well, actually, the first thing I did when I realised that it had gotten pretty intense was I just really stopped looking at Instagram for a while, because even though I kind of intuitively and instinctively know that what I'm seeing is just, one version of events, it's very easy to fall down that Instagram rabbit hole into what everyone else is doing and feeling like, that's not what I'm doing, that's not what I'm charging, that's not, all that sort of stuff. And I don't know, I guess, especially through my coaching, I just came to a point of realizing it actually doesn't matter what other people are doing. I actually just have to focus on what's right for me. The other thing is that everybody else's circumstances are not the same as yours. So whilst, I might have 4 days to work on my business, maybe somebody else has 5, maybe somebody else has 2. Maybe, our circumstances are so different. So even if we're the same year in business, it doesn't necessarily mean that we've had the same amount of time or the same, opportunities or resources or anything to be able to, do what we've done, and different goals and different, I think I just came to the realization that everybody's on such a different path, that what is the point in trying to say, where am I in relation to somebody else? And that's not to say I don't have days where I still kind of get that feeling of like, oh, I should be, whatever. I
should be doing more. I should be more. I should have more. I should do more.
But I think too
that. But then I'm also very tired. Yeah. So tired. Yeah, sorry.
I was going to say it's about learning styles as well, and how you actually operate, because I'm someone who loves to ruminate on an idea for a while and think about it before I would even dream of putting it out there as a thing. But I know other people are massive action takers, and as soon as they've had an idea for something, they'll just put it out and test it and see. And I think when you're an overthinker like me and you start comparing yourself to an action taker, well, you're inevitably going to always be, just kind of behind the leader, because, you're just taking time with it, and there's no right or wrong with it. So yeah,
style is your style, and as long as you're doing right by you and your clients, and you're getting your work done, and you've got enough clients, you don't really need to be going, oh, look at that amazing person over there, look at what she's doing, why aren't I doing that? And then if you keep changing tack all the time, your audience is going to get confused. So if you're clear on your audience, you have that one message, you stay on message, one client, one message, one product, you keep just going for that, show up consistently, which I'm hopeless at the moment because it's been chaotic in my house. You will attract the clients that are right for you and the work that is right for you.
Absolutely. And I think too, so much of my work over the past few years, until I sort of relaunched my brand and website this year, came through word of mouth. And it was about that establishing relationships with people, being really clear on who I was working with, what I could do, and so on, so that people just referred really beautifully aligned clients to me. And I've never kind of worried that there wouldn't be enough work to go around, because, you know, everybody needs a good copywriter.
Yeah. There's so much. We're I think one of the few industries that's done well over this period, because it's given a lot of businesses time to go, okay, right, I'm going to do my marketing. And I'm like, whoa, where are all these people coming from? It's because finally it's not the bottom of the pile anymore.
Yeah, and people are realizing that if their online presence is not up to scratch, well, you know, you've got a problem in a pandemic where nobody can leave the house, don't you?
Yeah. Absolutely. So I found that it's been really busy the last month. It's really picked up again since we got that hope, because a lot of my clients are in Melbourne. Since we got that hopeful outlook of 19 double donut days, you know. Yes. So how do you maintain your sense of community while working alone?
So many ways. In fact, like, I never ever feel like I'm alone in my business. And it's kind of nice, because even though I used to work with teams of people, you know, we would literally be rushing all the time, and I'd never really get that opportunity to sit down and talk to them. But these days, I'm about to start co-working with a beautiful bunch of women who actually I was about to move in just before the pandemic. So we've been virtually co-working online this year, but into a beautiful co-working local space. So connecting with those amazing women, you know, connected to a number of different membership and networking groups that I just have met the most amazing people through. Copywriting colleagues, you know, who I got to know online, and some of them live locally and we catch up, and others, you know, just kind of internet friends. It's just quite extraordinary how many new people I've welcomed into my life in the past, you know, 4.5 years. I sort of hit my mid-30s and thought, okay, well, these are my friends now, you know. I've got my friends.
Yep.
And then suddenly here I am about to turn 40 with all of these new people in my world. And it's just been so incredibly enriching. And kind of nice too, because I love my friends that I've had for a long time, but not many of them have their own businesses. And so it's just a different kind of experience, actually being able to, you know, get to know, become friends with, share advice with, connect with other women and men in business who understand what it's like to actually be at the helm.
Yeah, it's such a different path that my dad runs his own business, and I think he's the only person in my family that really relates to where I'm at. But it's not many of my friends do run their own businesses, and it's a whole nother journey. It's a whole nother way of living, because it isn't, all right, I'm just going to go into this job every day and I'll switch off at the weekends, and then I know I'll always get paid, and I don't have to be putting myself out there. And you know, I do videos and I feel like such a show off, and that's just not who I am. But then at the same time, if I don't put myself out there, no one's going to get to know me. And that's the difference, sort of, especially with you and I, our businesses are a personal brand. They're us. And so we've got to just get over ourselves and put ourselves out there, which is terrifying. But that's the path we've chosen. But it's also a very liberating path, but it's also a very scary path.
Yeah, for sure.
I love all my internet friends.
It's so funny. I want to get brave enough to do video like you, Jane, one of these days.
You just got to do it. I just do it on my phone, you know.
Yeah.
So that's my high-tech equipment. This is my webcam, but my phone, I just grab it and I just do it. I'm just going to make a habit out of it. But that's, you know, part of what I'm doing tomorrow with my planning, is doing my content, all of that. It's going to be great. I'm excited. So what are your, what's your why? What keeps you motivated?
I think, well, a few things. I mean, you know, I think even though it's been a struggle to, I think, get to that point where I feel that I can truly have the flexibility that I set out to achieve.
The lifestyle business.
The lifestyle business. I feel like you know, I'm getting there. You know, I met my husband for lunch yesterday, and, you know, I can book appointments during the day, and I can I can start to work my lifestyle around my work. I just have to actively decide to do that and actually have to, actually use that flexibility instead of just getting into the habit of working 9 to 5. So that flexibility was really important to me when I started, but also I think to be able to connect all of the different bits of my world together in terms of bringing my background in education through to this work as well. That idea of actually wanting to not just give someone a service of like, here's your copy, sort of
that's it,
you've written, good luck. It's more around, this is why I've made these sorts of decisions, or, how can I help you to understand how to use this actually really purposefully, or, helping people answer questions around different, bits of copywriting so that they actually understand how the process works. And it's not just like a really transactional kind of way of doing business. For me, it's really about that educational piece as well, and really wanting people to understand how it works, and then sort of seeing the value in it as well, and being able to to make it a different kind of experience. So I'm not someone who's just going to have a purely transactional.
And I think that's a real part of the way you and I do business. Is it's about relationships, and we really genuinely want to see our clients succeed. It's not just pay me, here's your stuff, bye. It's okay, and having a client call you when they've got the wobbles around something, and you're like, it's all right, it's chill. We're humans first, and it's a really beautiful place to be, and a gift really in terms of our business and running a business.
Yeah, for sure.
One of the things I love around flexibility, and you'll appreciate this next year, I didn't so much this year, was being able to go to school assemblies. And seeing their little faces, up on stage. And that is one of the things whenever I go, I'm like, oh, I'm so lucky to be able to do this. There's only a couple that I've missed because of deadlines and whatever, but they're just so gorgeous, and they get so big so fast. So what are your tips for all the smart women in business and the men that listen to Hello across Australia and the world?
I think if you can listen to yourself, like actually to really take the opportunity to think about or to reflect on what it is that you really want and what it is that is really working for you, being really honest with yourself around, not just following the most common path, or not just doing what people around you are doing, but actually acknowledging what feels good, and also what works in with your skill set. I'm an organizer, details, planning person, so I know that if I need some expertise around big picture thinking, I need to get some help with that. That's not something that comes as naturally to me. If I want some assistance with graphic design, I'm going to have to get someone in to help me with that. I'm not going to use all my time trying to skill up doing every single thing. Not anymore. Of course you do what you do in the beginning
when you're bootstrapping.
Yeah, and then you get to a point and you realize, what is it that I really want to be doing in this business? What gives me joy? What brings in income? All those sorts of things, and then you delegate the rest. And that letting go of some things can feel really, especially for people like us. But it's the only way to create that space for thinking, and it's the only way to create that space for growing. And I want to have a business that's actually really sustainable in the long term, not one that's just going to burn out in a few years because I just don't have anything left to give either. So
you get to a point in your business where your time becomes more valuable than money. And it's that shift when you go, okay, what am I going to delegate first? And I think you need to plan that outsourcing from the start working out those repetitive tasks and work that out from the beginning, so that when you end up with a massive project or you get sick or something, you're ready to go, here's everything, I'm just going to keep my zone of genius.
Mm.
And that's really powerful stage to go through in a business, and that makes it scalable too.
Yeah, for sure. So having the right people around you, you know, for outsourcing, for business growth and support, and just camaraderie, conversation, connection, you know, it's you need people if you're going to be a soloist around you. You really do.
Yeah, what is it? It's like the thing in Victoria at the moment. Staying apart keeps us together. It's like you might be alone, but you need all these people around you to help you be the best that you can be in your business and show up for your clients the best you can be.
Yeah.
Well, Emma, how can listeners find out more about you and your work with your new branding and your new website?
Yes, they can come and visit my website. That is emmamcmillancopy.com. I had to think about that for a second. And on Instagram at Emma McMillan Copy, and that's just McMillan, A-N, not I-A-N, and M-C, not
yeah, I'm an MC too.
Yeah, it's the only way.
It's the only way, man. It's the only way. Well, I will put your links in the show notes, if I could speak today. Thank you so much for your time, Emma. It's been a real pleasure to speak to a fellow copywriter.
I've loved it. Thanks, Jane.
Thanks.